It's the John Doe Radio Show. John Doe.
Yo, Green Lantern, man. You know how we do, man. We shitting on niggas.com. New York connection, Miami connection. We a problem. These fucking snakes, man. Fucking up our lives. I'm gonna take a piss in your oil fields. I want some motherfucking payback, so, yeah. I wanna run for president, and the focal point when I'm campaigning is to put FEMA to work on a plantation at Camp David. Demand payment for New Orleans with the best of swordsmen. Launching missiles at the White House while techs performing. On the lawn and I just let them burn till death's confirmed. Laid to rest with worms, cause otherwise they'll never learn. I form a coup attempt with anthrax through the fence. From out a package I got in the mail that you just sent. But I got a better punishment for these Republicans. I'd let them live so they could see us overthrow the government. Let's fuck with them. Have the first lady beat me off till my semen's launched. Then I skied across her face like Peter North. And I won't leave a doubt what we about when I cream her mouth. Or leave a trout bleeding out on Condoleezza's couch. I'll seek this route without regrets and drink a brew that think of you. Cause if it's the last fucking thing I do, I'll Immortal Technique, Razzie. Nigga, I never forget nothing, nigga. 51% of the World Bank is owned by the U.S. Treasury. Robbing third world countries out all their resources and equity. When Afghanistan was fighting the Russians, Reagan and Bush gave Bin Laden weapons and told them get the bussin'. We even called them freedom fighters. Financed the cost with CIA importing cocaine. That whole Iran-Contra scandal, niggas took the blame. Started a war on drugs. Meanwhile, Russ is defeated. America thinks more oil for us. Take over, set up a puppet government. Arabs ain't bearing it. So the same freedom fighters, George W. call them terrorists. Poetic justice, payback's a bitch. These fucking hypocrites like Bill O'Reilly. Right-wingers deserve what they get. Rush Limbaugh, drug addict, Giuliani, sex scandal. I wanna thank white supremacists. They show you how my text handle. My next nano, technologically designed. That spit SARS to all you stupid ass execs at Capitol resign. I am vindictive, faggots. Yeah, I got something for you motherfuckers. Want it? Here you go. The first payback that I would accomplish. I draft children from the Senate and Congress. Pompous religious right made suicidal. When I exposed Josephus for ghostwriting the Bible. Making nuclear silos, bomb the world with hydro. Chinese dragon-sized blunts and Maracaibo. And everyone flashing a gun on a DVD. I make them niggas shoot it out with NYPD. And every fucker that didn't buy my CD, I stab the revolution in their neck with an IV. See me, own the world, I give it back to the poor. I give a last name to every single son of a whore. Hard to the core, fuck with the gamers. Niggas pop on they block, but they globally nameless. I'll show the hood real gangsters and make them famous. Langley, Virginia, where my connect for cocaine is. I make everybody fucking have the world darkening. I make rap about lyrics, not beats and marketing. Replace every rape virgin's broken hymen. Holding the beers, reclining while they choke on their diamonds. My designing's like Francis Ford Coppola rhyming. Building a universe inside solitary confinement. I'd reverse Rockefeller laws and bring Mumia home and serve the president, freestyling all for the dough. A message to the outgoing president. Hey, I got a great idea, nigga. Kill yourself. You know what's so funny? I thought about it the other day. You should probably kill yourself. Why don't you kill yourself? Kill yourself.
Mile high. It's the John Doe Radio Show. How much higher can you get?
John Doe.
Welcome to the John Doe Radio Show. I am your host, John Doe, chilling here with my good friends Chad and Bike. How you guys doing?
Good, John Doe. Oh, yeah, my mic's not on. I think.
Is your mic not on? Here, go ahead and talk.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
All right, there you go.
I'm doing well this morning. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic. Feel great this morning.
Good. You sound better than you did yesterday.
Yeah, I feel a little bit more energetic than I did yesterday. Yesterday was a little bit of a rough day to get through. I tried not to complain at all.
We appreciate that because it sucks hearing people bitch.
I know, and I do bitch a lot sometimes. As a lot of people do know that listen to the show. But no, I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I had this horrible migraine. It made me sick as hell. And by the time I got in, I felt better in pain, but I was just like, whoa. But no, I went back and listened to the show. It was a good show. Thank you guys again for your input, and it's working out pretty well. I like how the flow is going. I'm still semi-nervous when we roll into it, but
Got me fooled. You don't seem nervous today.
Today I feel great, man. We got baked as a cake before the show.
That's the key.
That is a big key. I just got to remember at the beginning, because at the beginning I'm always over-modulating everything.
What do you mean? Give an example. Like, hello.
I forget that you're not you're a radio guy, but you haven't necessarily overmod and pot and all this other stuff. You know,
most people listening don't know either. So.
Oh yeah, overmod. The sound's too high. Like it'll blast over the top.
Your voice or the volume set?
All of it. I had all of it screwed up yesterday. The first day was the most horrible because I was I went ape shiz. Whoa, I'm back on the air.
All overstimulated.
Yeah, and it was like, whoa, dude, settle down a little bit. Like, it's going to be okay. I brought some of my glass today, too.
I was looking at that.
Not that I want to show off one of these because it's extremely dirty right now, full of oil reclaim. A shower head, a Cirque, and an inline that I brought.
What do you like? How do you like how this hits compared to that?
But I like them all. I like every single one of them. The daily driver is the Cirque, though. I love how the Cirque hits.
That's called.
It doesn't hurt.
I just got a rig with a perk like that recently, and I love how that hits.
Cirques?
Yes.
Oh yeah. And did you see the cuts in it? Just so.
How many cuts?
I don't know how many cuts it is.
You just lost track.
Yeah, they're pretty perfectly spaced out and nice.
I'd hit it.
It was one of my favorite things to make was these things. So let me show it. I'll show it to everybody. It's dirty as heck.
Oh, yeah, it's filthy.
It's filthy. I'm so sorry, everybody. I swear to goodness that I clean my pipes. It's just here this last, I just dump out the water, and here the last month or so I haven't really necessarily cleaned the pipe like I normally do, and really haven't cleaned it at all. So it's pretty dirty. Sorry, everybody. I'm completely embarrassed that I'm showing this off. I really am.
Are you that type of guy who's going to clean that out with ISO and vap it off and smoke the claim?
No, I won't. I won't vape. I won't
down the toilet.
After it cleans, it goes down the drain. But nice. That's interesting that you brought that up because nobody wants to get stuck with the name Reclaim. That could be a nickname that could follow you around for a while. But the thing is, and this is quite interesting, that Reclaim was tested here recently. I saw a test.
I saw that, and that's not surprising. About 80%.
It was high, very high in CBD.
Sure.
Activated CBD, which.
Well, I don't know CBD. The THC was pretty high.
Yeah, the THC and CBD. I mean, the CBD.
CBN.
Was CBN, yes. But it was still a fantastic medicine. It was still a very highly active.
I used to smoke my claim a lot. My domeless nail doesn't leave a lot of claim anymore, so I don't.
Which one do you have?
The KO domeless.
Oh yeah, the KO domeless.
It's like a deep dish domeless.
I'm gonna move this out of the view of the screen.
So yeah, that definitely keeps my rigs a lot cleaner and less claim, so I just throw it away too. But I used to smoke a lot of Reclaim and taste awful, but it gets you higher than dabs sometimes, just smoking regular wax.
Yeah, I agree that. I'll agree with you that there's nothing wrong with smoking Reclaim. I don't think there's anything wrong with smoking Reclaim. In fact, I think it has its own qualities to it. The thing is, though, you don't want to. I never let this water sit in here for too long to the point where you can actually have shit growing inside this.
Oh yeah, I've
Make
seen
sure you
water
should-
that looks like milk inside of a rig.
Dude,
it's nasty.
It will. There will be.
It
There
was-
can be mold that grows on this.
It was my rig too. I can imagine.
That's another reason that you need to keep this clean, because it's just dirty. It gets dirty. But if you're washing it out daily,
All depends how much you smoke.
yeah.
Every
it's
few
it's
days.
really up to you, man. I mean,
Thanks, I appreciate it.
if you can afford good quality cannabis and extracts, go get them. Go get them. I mean, if you want to worry about your reclaim, if you want to smoke that, then I really don't think
lot of
anybody.
people-
I don't think anybody should look down on you for it because of the
nothing wrong with
test
that.
that I saw recently.
Were you surprised by that? I mean, it's
no, I wasn't. I wasn't.
heated up, so it's activated more.
I was surprised about the THC numbers.
Oh, you are. I'm not surprised at one bit. If you think about it, it's just you're heating up the oil, and what's spilling over off the nail is getting somewhat activated. So of course the THC content is going to be higher in that.
Yeah, it was a little bit surprising, but I also I also know that there could be just repercussions to being called reclaim.
That's
So I think a lot more people are smoking their reclaim than claim to be smoking it, just for the simple fact that they don't want.
I hear that a lot of people are eating it as well, cooking with it.
Yeah, that's.
You
Yeah.
can clean it up a little. You can winterize it somewhat, filter it, and
Like you said, you could put it through alcohol and vape it off.
sure,
Not vape it like a vaporizer, but
evaporate
it off.
Tastes definitely different, but
The chat room, if you guys at icannabisradio.com, make sure you're, if you do want to come to listen to us live, we are live 11 a.m. to 1 Mountain Time on icannabisradio.com. I appreciate everybody's suggestions that they're tossing out, and got mobile listeners that are giving other people tips and hints on how to listen mobily.
yeah, there's
Sometimes
there's
a
an
li-
app, there's a browser you can download that streams. I think it's called the Photon browser. You can get.
Yeah, the Photon browser, and just go to icannabisradio.com on your phone, and it should work fantastically. Icannabisradio.com works from my my phone. I don't know.
I haven't tried it. I've been
I have the Samsung.
on here.
Samsung. What is it?
The Droid.
Galaxy S3.
The Galaxy S3.
I have the same one, but it doesn't work on mine.
It doesn't work on yours.
No, just the regular internet browser.
It works on mine. Anyway, you can go get that download and check us out at icannabisradio.com. Make sure you check out all the other awesome shows during the week on iCannabis Radio. Mondays, we have In the Lab with Jennifer Murray. Sexpot Radio is on Tuesday. Oh, and we can't forget, on Monday nights, one of my favorite shows with Georgia, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Sexpot Radio is on at 6 to 8 p.m. Mountain Time. On Tuesdays, of course, John Doe Radio on in the morning, and American Weed Realm Radio is on at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. Just go to icannabisradio.com and get the straight story rather than me bumbling around and fumbling all the times and dates. Right under the chat room at icannabisradio.com is the list of all the other shows. Overgrow the Radio is on Thursdays with the Hemp Connoisseur Radio. So yeah, you got quite a few great selections to choose from on iCannabis Radio. Also, big thanks to Element 420 in Denver for being one of our great sponsors, 82 South Federal Boulevard in Denver. Awesome CO2 oil. We're going to talk about it, and eventually we're going to talk about it a lot, and we will have these guys on the show and talk to them about the process of CO2 extract and their buds, of course. Their buds are obviously.
I go there. I like to smoke their weed for sure.
If you have great weed, and that's what you're getting your extract from,
Oh yeah, that's another thing I wanted to mention.
you really
Actually,
have to try to screw it up.
it's all nug runs. It's not trim. He definitely runs all nug.
Like I reposted on my Facebook page and on the John Doe Radio Facebook page, Element 420's Facebook, and you can go look in their pictures and check out their lab and the machine that they have. And yeah, in the blender, Chad yesterday was like, "Dear God, no!" when he looked at this picture, because it's like a whole big ass
buds, yeah.
blender full of fat buds.
About to get destroyed.
But no, you can't think of
Yeah,
it
not
like
really
that.
destroyed, I
You
guess.
can't think of it like that.
Turn it into something better.
You got to think of it like being.
Refined.
You have to think of it
Process, yeah.
kind of like you do with
Gaining
glass.
access.
You look at it like glass, and you're like, okay, I'm picturing this, and this is what it's going to look like in the end. That's what I see when I see a big blender full of buds is, oh my God, this is going to be amazing when it gets done.
But it's like you turn so much into a little bit, though.
Well, that amount
of buzz could last
Just
you
the
a
good
long
shit.
time. Yeah.
People are getting good returns off of their bud runs.
What's a good return?
We'll have to sit down and talk about that, because I've heard numbers go up quite a bit, and I don't want to throw out any numbers out there because I've been out of.
They're all exaggerated.
I think.
And they say it depends on what you're using too, right? Like they said, the CO2 stuff.
Yeah,
you get
CO2
a
captures a
lower-
little less than BHO does. Extract does.
Yeah,
That's
but
what
it doesn't bond as much.
That's what Alex was telling me. Yeah, it's not as bonding as butane.
It's more selective.
But that also means that afterwards, if you're not getting all the cannabinoids out of your greens and you still got maybe like keef left over or whatever, I mean, you could still possibly cook with that.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's multiple products that you can get, and also we'll sit down when we sit down and talk with Alex and the good people from Element 420. Make sure you check them out, Denver, Colorado, 303-945-4774. We'll talk with them about the whole process, and there are a few things that are interesting that maybe, some other companies do. That I asked him at one point in time, and I've asked a few people this, and I've gotten the same kind of answer back, that there is additives in other CO2, like...
Yeah, I've heard glycerin
is a big
acetone.
Well, glycerin is one of the ones that I've heard a lot, and that it kind of makes sense because when you smoke CO2, from a lot of places it's harsh.
Yeah, it tastes funny.
It's just, and one of the big reasons why I don't like it is just plain harsh. But this is not so harsh. This is not harsh.
Not at all. It tastes
There's no additives.
more
nothing.
than pleasant. It's very different.
And it comes in a wax form sometimes.
Yeah, he's got oil and he has wax, which is just a little more easier to handle.
That's something else that we'll talk to him about, is like the different, different areas of coldness and the levels of extraction that they can do with the machine, because
They can dial that thing in.
It can be dialed in like crazy. I mean, when I was over there, I'm like, what temperature do you run it at? And they're like, various.
Yeah, what strain are you talking
Like,
about?
what strain are you going after? Which is cool. It was really cool. And as I've said before, they have a very wide selection of extracts. And Wednesdays are going to be one of our extract days, hash days,
Hash Wednesday.
and some of these days will change, and it all depends on when Warren's in here, and maybe I see Warren walking by. Warren Edson from WarrenEdson.com and Edson Maton and Matts, a great lawyer. When we see him walking around, if I have a question or something, if there's something for the chat room, or I see a news story, like today, I know Warren, all of us are following the possible announcement of the federal Eric Holder's answer to Colorado and Washington, and we'll talk about that a little bit more here. Probably, we'll definitely in the news, and in the second hour we'll have Mickey Martin on from California, and we'll talk to him about just various things. I'm sure that he will have plenty to talk about because he's a very spirited fellow.
For sure, he will.
You two probably get it, like back and forth going on between y'all. Just
I like Mickey a lot.
I've known Mickey for a while.
A couple of years now, I think through Facebook at least, I started seeing this loudmouth dude always talking about stop taking people to jail for weed, and I was like, this guy, who is this guy? And
Me and him have had quite many discussions on Facebook and about amendment or about Proposition 19. That was quite a interesting ride through the mix when Prop 19 went down, dude. I think I got more arguments during that amount of time than I have in my life, and that's saying a shiz ton.
I see Danny Danko in the chat room saying he remembers Mickey Martin from Tainted Truffles.
Yeah, Tainted, man.
Yeah, he's bringing
That's where I do.
Tainted back. It's another thing we can talk about. But you guys will learn why.
We need to secure Danny tomorrow. Danny, would you like to come on the show tomorrow? Anyway, go ahead.
Anyways, I was just going to say it didn't take me long to figure out that your average pothead who just smokes weed really should appreciate a guy like Mickey Martin out there.
Yeah, Chris Bliss was the other guy. That's who I was trying to tell you about.
I never heard that name.
Chris, yeah, I know Tainted.
Oh, from
Yeah, I get
Tainted,
to meet Chris quite a
Tainted
bit.
Talk. But yes, I'm distracted here.
Sorry, we need to get back to hash too here.
Yes.
But go ahead.
Danny
yeah.
says anytime.
Yeah.
And
So cool. We'll probably get Danny tomorrow. I'll give him a holler later today, and we'll secure time.
And if you're a lazy pothead, definitely listen at noon. Mickey Martin is going to get your ass in shape.
Yeah. So yeah, Tainted. We'll talk a little bit probably about Tainted, and about that story. We've talked about it before on the John Doe Radio Show. If people go back on johndoeradio.com and search for Chris Bliss, I'm sure that that'll come up.
I'd like to see that show.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I think he was on with Derek and TH Seeds and Adam Dunn one time when we were sitting down. We had a long conversation. So I've had his edibles before. I've had the peanut butter cups. Amazing.
I've tried all the Tainted stuff, and most of it at least. I tried a good part of it, and they're really tasty. And one good thing about Tainted is that their concentrate comes from the same source. It's all OG Kush and sour diesel from the same garden, so it's very consistent, which is hard to get for a lot of edible companies.
Yeah, it's I knew when we invited Mickey on that. Well, I knew we were going to invite Mickey on at some point in time.
We knew we were going to have Mickey on before we were sure the show was going to be back on.
Yeah, and that's that is a conscious decision that we made to have him on.
Oh, definitely a great decision.
I'm
too.
already a polarizing character a lot of the time. I've tried to be really good here the first couple of days. And
So try not to cancel each other out.
I've tried to make friends here the first couple of days and not really. But there's going to be things that I'm going to go after.
It's boring if no one has arguments. It's like if everyone agrees, then might as well just go kill ourselves like that intro song said.
I just like that song. I just realized that the message of that song wasn't necessarily where I'm at right now. So, but Immortal Technique is awesome, and he sent us a ton of music, and is always sending us tons of music. So, why not? I like a lot of his older stuff. But anyway, getting back to the hash, because god dang, I'm hitting like 50 different topics right here. You can tell I'm excited. I feel good today. We were talking about my glass. Then we went into hash. Then we talked to Danny. Then we talked about Chris Bliss, Tainted. All right. Anyway, getting back to that CO2 oil and hash. Wednesdays are going to be one of your favorite days, I think. Before we used to talk about a lot of water hash extract, and we used to have BHO talk on with Dan from Top Shelf Extracts. And Dan and other people that we've had on the show quite a few times have gone on to win many awards, including High Times Cannabis Cups. I think Bo Johnson, you remember him from the John Doe Radio Show. Works at River Rock over there. He's won like 7 awards or something like that. And Dan, I mean, he was on a panel out in California talking about hash, and it's very gratifying to see these people that we've had on the show and we've talked with and been friends with for a while succeed and do well. So it's really cool. I want to make sure that I make that clear, because that may not have been clear here recently from maybe some of the comments that I've made. So
Clear as a bell.
all right, you got anything else?
You were talking about hash. I keep waiting for you to talk about it.
Oh, Wednesdays are gonna be Hash Wednesdays.
Oh, okay. I thought you had something specific, like you took a dab once and fell down and
We already talked about that.
got a rug burn on your forehead. Oh, that was Mark.
I told that story about Chad's brother, and I forgot people listen to the show, and he went to go listen to the show later on that night, and I guess laughed his ass off. I didn't mean to throw him under the bus, but I guess that's exactly what I said.
He heard it?
Oh yeah, he heard it.
Nice.
Letting people know nothing's got, they don't got nothing on Colorado.
Yeah, he's going around telling everybody, you ain't got shit on Colorado. We'll knock you out. Really, though, here, I mean, it is the hash capital, I think, of the extract world, at least BHO. And
You think Colorado is? I think a lot of people in
hash-
California are screaming right now.
yeah, I know.
I'm
but
not disagreeing
I would
with
say,
you, but
I think even High Times has claimed that
Do you know what
we're the
I-
capital of
I can tell you,
extract.
and let everyone in listening know, in a little secret, where the best hash comes from. It comes from Earth. It doesn't matter what part of Earth it comes from. Let's stop fighting about it.
Are you just generalizing there and throwing a blanket over everything?
Yes, I want to calm the conversation down a little bit.
California is fantastic with everything that they do. They have. I mean, it's just there's so many people in California doing what they do, making hash, making extracts. The problem is in California, though, it's illegal to. It's technically illegal to make BHO. You can't. You're not supposed to use
check this out. I just
But
heard.
it's done.
I heard what's going on in Oregon recently, and I heard this was from a reliable source. Someone went to go refill their N-butane container at Airgas and were refused, and they had to, if they want to get it, they have to fill out a form and register and have the DEA inspect their facility while they want to use it. They're going to be limiting purchasing cans of butane to 3 cans per day, which is something that goes on in other states too. I know my buddy in Missouri was telling me, I think you can buy 1 can a day. So I wonder if that's going to happen here next at, California next.
I've heard that the changes that California at some point in time needs to figure out that hash situation, because there already is a ton of people making BHO extract in California. I don't think that's any surprise to anybody. And a lot of the stories a lot of the fires and situation come from California. That's a result of so many people. I'm not going to sit here and say that the Californians are irresponsible, but it's just there's so many people there. You're probably going to have a couple idiots in the mix of a million people.
Those explosions are happening so frequently around the country that FEMA just announced that they're saying, "What the hell are you guys doing?" And they're checking into it now.
Really? That's
I swear to God, this
I
is
don't-
scary stuff.
I hear of the explosions, and I hear of people doing, BHO extracts inside their house.
So
But I don't hear of it that much in Colorado.
Yes, I don't hear that much in Colorado. It's less in Colorado from what's reported. I saw a picture just this morning on Instagram of an idiot blasting inside of his house.
Posted it up on Instagram.
Yes, it was on Instagram. I think I might have shared the picture. I'm not sure, I forget. But it had a bunch of likes on the picture on Instagram, too.
Everybody used to post up their pictures of their extract process. And he used to post up,
Sure.
but it stopped. It's stopped over a period of time.
Not with this idiot.
Well, for the most part, it's really gone down as far as people, doing that kind of stuff. I think they got smart and was like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do that. Like when it's like when Chris Barkowitz got arrested here in Colorado when he got raided.
Who was this?
After 9 News ran that story.
Is that the guy down at Highlands Ranch?
Yeah, Chris
Okay.
Hart.
He said, "Hey, I got 100 plants. Come on down," or something like that.
What happened was he had 9 News come and cover his medical marijuana grow in his basement, and there was question whether or not he could have that many. He was within, the distance not allowed of schools. It wasn't necessarily at the time. I'm not sure that he wasn't necessarily. There was question whether or not he was allowed to grow where he was. Let's just say that. And I don't think there was necessarily rules about schools yet at that point in time. But either way, a DEA agent saw what Chris Barkowitz was doing on 9 News, because 9 News went and what he was trying to do was to tell people, look, it's not that big of a deal in your house.
Right.
You're living, But they spun the story to be about how much money he was making. Was the first thing that I saw. Was the first. They ran it during the Olympic lead-up week, so it was during the Olympics, and it basically made this story huge. So there's everybody and their mother watching, NBC at that time, and they ran this story about, oh my God, there's this person growing, $100,000 worth of cannabis inside this house, $100,000 plus a year, and it ticked off people. Am I hearing me come back through? You should turn that off.
Which one?
Is that... I'm hearing myself on your... Is it the chat? Anyway, I heard myself coming back.
Can you hear
through.
me?
Somebody else was playing
I'm
something.
very low in my headphones.
No, you're
You
good.
can hear me? Okay.
But a Fed saw this, Agent Sweeten, and went and raided him before it even ran on air. So the next day, it was like...
He got arrested before that. Wow.
They ran the thing the night before, and then the next day there was
promo.
DEA coming over to his house. And Chris, I think, made a mistake. I don't want to hit a man while he's down in jail, and this is not even coming close to, I think, hitting him. But the one thing that I can't say, and I think that he would maybe tell you all this too, and this is something to learn from. They came to his house, and he didn't think he was doing anything wrong, so he let the DEA come in.
Oh, that's always a bad move.
So they were going to probably come in anyway. There was no ifs, ands, or buts that they were going to, probably leave somebody there, go and get a warrant and come back. So what are you going to do?
Sure.
So he ended up getting 5 years in a plea deal. He was sitting in our living room one day. We had him on the show, and he got a phone call from his lawyer. And, me and Derek were sitting there and talking to him, and after he got off the phone, it was like we knew something big was going to happen. They had offered him a plea deal, and he had to go in court the next day. He didn't necessarily know that what the plea deal was when he left, and didn't know what was going to happen. The next day, my bud's carried off in the courtroom, 5 years in prison.
How long ago was that now?
He's still got a couple years left.
Federal time, too.
Yeah, he was in Colorado for a while. And what's ridiculous is that I was emailing him back and forth, and then just all kinds of crazy stuff happened this past year, and kind of got off track with that. I've kept up with him a little bit. But you can go to Chris Barkowitz on Facebook, and search for Chris Barkowitz, and you can find the information that you need to maybe send him something. It's maybe a little bit of dough for the commissary so he can get some top ramen and some Snickers.
It's always nice.
God. I hate saying that, man. That just makes me feel so horrible that somebody could be in that situation. Is this it?
Yeah.
This is that guy, the Botard?
First Class Concentrates is who posted that picture. I never heard of him.
Let me. I'm gonna show everybody this.
I'll post it on the John Doe Facebook page too.
That dude's blasting inside his house. There's the TV right there, the screen. Let's see, all that butane coming up out of there, floating up into the corner over by that screen or that light, and then he goes to flip that light,
And his mouth's wide open.
inhaling a ton of butane. All right, didn't mean to get too serious there, but I think it's important that we do recognize our friends and people that are still in jail for cannabis. I mean, we sit here in Colorado and Washington, pretty high on the horse right now. I mean, we're still battling, and we'll talk about here in a few minutes the situation with the feds, and I'm sure Eric Holder in the next couple of days, if not today, will announce what the feds plan to do. But it's important to realize and understand, and sometimes it's hard for us here in Colorado. I see the stories, and I recognize other states still have issues with cannabis, but there's people here in Colorado that are in their own little bubble. I mean, when you go to other states, it's a rude awakening when you sit down and late at night and you're like, I don't have any cannabis. How am I going to get it? And you realize that you're not necessarily in Colorado. It's that the access isn't going to be there. That if you run into a police officer, that the outcome is not necessarily going to be like it is here in Colorado. They're maybe not just going to take your weed, which they aren't going to do that anymore here in Colorado. But in another state, you really have to understand. You're driving through Utah,
I forget.
Kansas.
Oh man, I forget sometimes. Excuse me. I'm still. If I see a cop behind me when I'm driving, I'll always get nervous, no matter how legal weed is, just because of how conditioned we were.
Yeah, like today is like.
Today was a good example.
Today was always like, you just got to watch where you're token, because there may be a building next to you or something where people are like looking through, tinted windows or something. You can't see who's looking through down on you, and that's one thing as responsible stoners that we need to be, and that's the key right there. Responsible. Understand that not everybody really wants to see this out in public, and one of the things with Amendment 64, I think, that's important to mention is that you're still not allowed to smoke in public. It's not something that that we still do it here in Colorado.
That's what I was started to bring up with Warren the other day about how in a lot of public parks here in Denver, you're allowed to drink
3-2 beer.
3-2 beer. You want to explain what 3-2 beer is?
3-2 beer is just 3.2% beer. It's ridiculous beer to even drink. Why people even drink it, I don't know.
They had it
Can't stand beer
for the blue laws back, so they could sell it on Sundays or something. Nonetheless,
stores here in Colorado,
they created a market for it.
Convenience stores and
grocery stores. They created a market for it, and now they're going to keep it. But nonetheless, you're allowed to drink this watered-down beer in a lot of city parks here in Denver. And if marijuana is regulated like alcohol, why aren't you allowed to smoke weed in public parks as well?
I agree, but it's not going to turn out like that. Because it's more invasive,
Just another example of how
you could say. I mean,
I like to
smoke.
bitch. Stoners like to complain. I want to smoke weed in a public park
Well-
if I want. I do anyways. But this isn't anyone else, but
Well, you walk down the 16th Street Mall any given day, and you're gonna find somebody token.
yeah, people smoke outside. It would just be nice if we didn't have to be sneaky about it. Even though the sneakiness adds to the buzz, I think.
The sneakiness.
Yeah,
adds
trying to
the
get
buzz.
a,
no, it
trying to
doesn't.
get away with it.
Not anymore, it
It may
doesn't.
not be a good additive, but
I do not like the. I don't like feeling like somebody's watching me while I'm toking and then doesn't appreciate what I'm necessarily doing. So
I like blowing it in their face.
see, that's what I'm talking about. Not doing is pissing off the people that we're like, okay,
I like thinking
We're
about
fine with
blowing it
it.
in their face. I don't like blowing it in their face.
it's like we're fine with this, but I don't want to necessarily see it. I don't want to smell the smoke. That's the problem I think with people that. All right, that's the problem with I think smoking in public and that situation is. I think alcohol is more invasive, in my opinion. I think if I'm next to a bunch of people, whether it's in a bar or if it's in a park and they're all out drinking, being rowdy and crazy, and to me that's more of a pain in the ass than somebody. Maybe I'm smelling a little bit of cannabis smoke, but people don't like it. I know when Chad was looking up on his phone today, it was like. There's this new app for Android. It's like the Siri for Android.
Yeah, it's
And he-
called Andy.
What's it called?
Andy.
Andy?
Yeah,
I
Andy
need
for
me some
Android.
Andy.
And he talked to me. He's like cannabis, and then like the thing gives you the definition of cannabis back, and then it like started off with like a stinky plant. Does
Does it read it to you?
Yeah, it reads
Oh,
off.
hell yeah, I need
Dude,
this app.
pull that shit up, or you got your.
Yeah, I can get it.
Yeah, you just ask it questions, and it bounces it back to you. But one of the first things it said was like a stinky plant. And I'm like, that's one of the reasons why people don't want to. They don't want to have it invade their nostrils. It's like secondhand smoke with smoking.
There's 100 ways I could go. I don't want to hear what drunk people have to say. They're invading my earlobes with their alcohol words.
With their alcohol words?
Yes,
Their
they're
made-up dictionary?
Alcohol words.
It's like the JDR dictionary.
What is
Constantly making up words all the time.
shiz fuck?
That was from Bubba the Love Sponge. Because you mentioned Bubba yesterday with Ned.
Yes, yes.
And yeah, I got that from Bubba.
Huh.
Because they needed a way to... Yeah, anyway. Good fun times. Make sure you check out our other sponsors also. We'll get to some news here in just a second. Warren Edson, Edson Maton and Matt's Criminal Defense Medical Marijuana Business Consultation at 2130 South Bel Air in Denver, Colorado, 80222. Give them a call, 303-831-8188. Edson Maton and Matt's Criminal Defense and Medical Marijuana Business Consultation. One of my favorite lawyers, and I highly suggest if you need a lawyer, give them a holler, 303-831-8188. That's my lawyer.
He's got pinball machines in his office. How can he go wrong?
Yeah, you guys, did you notice? Let me flip around this camera here. The light's not on in there.
We got foosball.
I keep forgetting that I have it on you. Let me lift it up and see. There's the other room right in there. There's I'll turn the camera on here, or I'll turn the light on here a little bit later. But there's 3 pinball machines in there. I don't know.
You want this definition? That
Yeah, let me see.
reads?
Yeah, push it. Let me see it. Hold it up to the mic. I want to see how good. No, wait. You got to talk into it. You can talk in the mic. You didn't have to pull away. So what do you do? You just say,
Cannabis.
read
A
it.
tall plant with a stiff upright stem, divided serrated leaves, and
Stiff,
glandular
upright, serrated
hairs.
stem.
It is used to produce hemp fiber and as a psychotropic drug, a dried preparation of the flowering tops or other parts of this plant.
Andy sounds like a
resin is
bitch.
extract of it cannabis resin.
I know. I was going to say that.
Generally illegally
It
as
sounds
a
like-
hemp
Is it
psychotropic
Andrea?
drug.
No, it's supposed to be Andy, but I don't know. Just the
All
voice
uptight,
that it reads
like
it off is girl.
Cannabis is.
It's got a girl voice reading
A
it off.
hairy plant that's tall.
Yeah, it's pretty
A
funny.
stiff, upright stem. Where was the stinky part?
I'm not sure. That might have been one of the other ones when I did. Let's see. Cannabis sativa.
Marijuana, a strong-smelling plant from whose dried leaves a number of euphoriant and hallucinogenic drugs are prepared.
No, I'm not sure where the stinky one was.
They prepare
That was a big-
hallucinogens.
different hallucinogenic drugs.
Yeah.
Like what else is?
That's from Reefer Madness.
What else was? What else comes from weed? You get extract, and it did talk about an extract at one point in time. All right,
Yeah. That's great.
technology. All right, let's get into some stories here. Today, if we get to it, we should be talking about these stories. Federal response coming soon, and a federal policy on Washington. Senator Leahy sequester should halt marijuana raids, marijuana profiling for drivers. Read a story about a news writer here in Colorado from Westward that got pulled over twice and profiled out of state because he was from Colorado. Navy vet used marijuana for PTSD. Could possibly go to jail. Dude, the Angry Bird theme is on, and your phone just did the
Yeah.
Angry Bird thing.
The launch.
Yes!
That's crazy.
It was such perfect timing on the show with stuff. Last year, all year, like, not last year, but the year before, all year was like 11, 11, and 11. And I hit that like every damn day. It just happens. Things happen right here on the John Doe Radio Show. Everybody wonders why I loved it so much. This is the one thing that works out great.
2 hours of your day that works out great.
2 hours of my day that are fantastic. No, the rest of my day is awesome too. This is what I do all day. Literally from like 8 o'clock in the morning until like 7 o'clock at night. I've been working every single day. Getting back to it.
Are you on the clock those hours? Or?
I own my own business. You tell me now. All right. Speaking of that, if you'd like to advertise with us on the John Doe Radio Show, email me, johndoe@johndoeradio.com. Also, Boulder's beginning to tackle legalization. I think these communities are so scared of missing the ball on legalization and having so many they're worried about shops opening up, worried about cannabis clubs opening up, which is ridiculous because really the law stated that these cannabis businesses aren't going to get any licenses until 2014.
Boulder's a unique place. The way I see things, I know this is apples and oranges, but 2 years ago they brought this big international cycling race to Colorado. It started down the Springs, went through the mountains, and came down, and ended up in Denver.
Yeah.
It's called the USA Pro Challenge. Boulder opted out right from the beginning with all these other mountain towns definitely signing up, and there was a waiting list. And then the race came. It was the first year. It brought multiple millions of dollars into every city that was involved. It was the largest spectator sport in American history. And then the day after the race, Boulder announced, "Hey guys, come on through our town next year. We want to get in on some of that." So they like to see that everything's cool and safe before they get involved. From my take on things, just by that experience.
Yeah. The thing about Boulder is, they're the local rule situation is something to think about when it comes down to making rules. And we talked about this, that Colorado's a home rule state. And, state laws would supersede local laws. But local laws could also be harsher than state laws. And I think that's what they're kind of trying to get onto. No matter what the legislature recommends or legislature makes into law, they're still going to have their own laws. I just think they're wasting money and time because after the legislature gets done with it, who's to say that your laws are going to match up with what they put through? And at the same time, going back on that other side too, there's 102 pages of suggestions that were given. So I think if they follow that outline of things, that they could be safe. So we'll talk about that more likely than just play the audio from that story, because this is going to happen all over the nation. Why I play those stories and why I talk about those things and these local municipalities, because what these people do could possibly affect what happens in the state legislature. More than likely will affect the direction of other states. You know what I'm saying? Other states come in and they'll sit down and they'll ask Boulder, Denver, the state of Colorado, how you went about making these rules. You know, we're the first ones that a lot of these people are going to come to. When medical marijuana, the dispensary model exploded, Colorado legislators, business owners, all had their input into other states. Lawyers. Also, if we get to it, marijuana contest canceled in a edible contest canceled in Routt County. where I used to work at a radio station, Steamboat.
What were they doing? What kind of contest? Were
They
they
were
doing?
going to do an edible contest, brownie contest.
This isn't not a medical. This is a recreational thing.
Did I say medical?
Didn't say either, so I'm just curious. We got
No,
to
it's recreational. It was at the county fair.
No kidding. That would have been awesome. It would have been very Colorado.
Yeah, it would have, dude. And it doesn't. I don't. It doesn't surprise me that the Steamboat was the one that
Do
thought.
they have microbrews at the county fair in Routt County?
I don't know. I think they do get issued liquor licenses.
I'm always going to compare. When someone says you can't have weed, I'm going to be like, can they have beer?
I'm pretty sure they issue liquor licenses. And also, last but not least, if we do get to it today, I'm not sure, bill would require welfare recipients to waive constitutional rights in Tennessee. And you were telling me earlier, we'll talk about this if we get to that, but Florida was the first one to actually have...
As far as I know,
I thought somebody else had done it, but...
A year or so ago, Florida announced they were going to have drug testing for any welfare recipients or applications, and
They went through with
saw
it.
recently that they did it, and I think it was 2% of people failed. So it cost them $100 million to save $60,000.
Yeah, they spent an enormous amount of money to try and save money, and it didn't do it. I think if you talk to any company that does drug testing, they'll tell you that it's a heavy expenditure. Sometimes I don't know, are you paying for it? Sometimes the company pays for it all the time.
All depends on is it for a pre-employment drug screen? The company will
I don't
usually
think
pay for that.
I don't think there's. I mean, if you have to take a drug test too, at work, if you're working and they're like, we need you to take a drug test. I think they pay for
their
it too.
dime, yeah.
Yeah, that's like $15 a pop. I think
All depends how many panels they're testing.
$5 to $15 a pop. I think is what it is. At least here in Colorado. When I had to take it for the court, you have to pay for it, and it was like $15. And I had to take over 50 drug tests, dude.
It's a lot of $15.
That's something that don't factor into the whole fine process that you have to actually think about factoring. And somebody was mentioning it earlier when we were talking about people in jail for cannabis and stuff, and they were right. It doesn't just end there. It has been so difficult for me to find work that's of value as a felon. And it's the same way with other people that I know. And even if it's just cannabis. I mean, there's a lot of corporations out there that have specific rules about felons and drug use and even trying to fly, an idea up the flagpole to people. I know it was one time I tried to get a job at a convenience store, and it was Kroger owned. And Kroger, won't hire felons.
The loaf?
No, it was down the street from me. I can't remember. It was I think it was like
Nonetheless,
Conoco or something. I think Kroger owned or 7-Eleven. I don't know.
you don't want to work for
like a year ago.
That's not your style anyway.
No, it's not my style, but I mean, needed income of money. So,
Adapt your hustle.
I mean, that's what I wasn't trying to do, though, is hustle. Because I've done the hustling before. Hustling is what got me into trouble.
That does not. It shouldn't have negative.
When I think of hustling, I think of slanging or
Not at all.
ripping somebody off.
Not at all.
Well, I guess your hustle could be your job.
It's whatever you got to do.
But at the time, I didn't have...
It doesn't have to be bad.
At the time, I didn't have a lot to choose from, I didn't think.
That's it. You didn't think. You're all grown up now, and shit's different. You're gonna be all right.
But it's a
You
pain
re-
in
you
the ass.
real-
You pay for it. Where I was
it's a-
going with all that is that you pay for that arrest and you pay for that mark on your record for the rest of your life. It's not... It is overly punitive, dude.
If you pay for it because you can't get a job with a lousy corporation that pays minimum wage.
No, and you can't get a job at a lot of other places.
Okay.
You
So
pretty
that-
much have to
okay.
work at a small company
Once you come
or
to
form your own company.
Once you come to terms with the fact that you can't get a job, you accept that, what are you going to do? Starve to death? No, you're going to figure out how to get money. You're going to hustle. And that's what you're doing. You got a radio show. You're hustling with that.
But it's still frustrating because, I mean, you're
should be
branded
happy.
that.
You
You're
should be
branded
ha-
that. There's
By
things
who?
that you can't do. I can't have a gun.
Wah, I can't have a gun. Who cares?
I do. I care. I think that is a right that Americans should have. I think that I should be able to have a weapon to defend myself in my
You broke
house.
the rules, and you're being punished for that.
Yeah, but the rule is
But-
unconstitutional in my opinion.
Okay.
It's unconstitutional. It's not whether or not I know I did wrong. I
Okay.
know I did something that I wasn't supposed to do because of the rules. I'm not even going to say I did something wrong. I didn't do anything
When you say
wrong.
that,
I did something against the law.
You
that
broke the rules, therefore you did something wrong.
I broke their rules.
Sure, that's what we live by.
I know. And I'll agree. I'll take 100% responsibility for
And I'm not saying you're not.
the rules were right at the time or whatever, but there was chances that I took for that, for other situations to happen, for me to grow forward. That's the road I took. So yeah, I take that. But I'm not. It was wrong that was offered and available to authorities to be able to come after me. It's ridiculous. And then after the fact, for it to be a felony and my charge.
Those are just the facts. Now, what do you have to realize is that you can't do anything about.
My nose is itching like crazy today.
You can't do anything about stuff that's already happened. So instead of focusing on what already happened and why it sucks now,
that's fine. I'm not saying
that should just be awesome motivation to find a new way to live.
That's fine. I understand that, but the point is still that it's not just me that has to deal with this, and that's why we bring it up. It's not.
I agree.
It's not just me that has to.
And I'm not just speaking to you. I just know that it's possible to live life with a felony.
It is.
I'm looking at you in front of me right now. You're sitting here.
No, I know, and I'm not. I don't even want to get in. I got into more of my story than I wanted to. The point was being again that
laws suck.
The laws are bullshit, and it's overreaching. They're unconstitutional. Period. Like that. That's what's wrong with this. Is unconstitutional. You're punished for the rest of your life for a situation. You are supposed to serve your time. So do what you're supposed to do. I did it. I did it. I went through. I got sentenced in front of a judge. Did everything that I was supposed to do. Boom. In my opinion, you should have in the drug war a little bit better of an opportunity to get over that hump that you were in. Take some. I mean, I was extremely young. I'm still extremely young. I'm not even 30 years old yet. And someone in their mid-20s that gets into a situation like that, I mean, who's to say that they have the same thoughts or they're the same person, Maybe when they're 30 or when they're 40 or even 50. I mean, for the rest of your life, it makes no sense. Not to mention the heartache that you personally go through and your family goes through while that person is in prison.
I agree.
Because that's one of the scariest things that you could probably ever do. For someone that's not a criminal, quote unquote, or a dangerous person. Now, there are some people that do drugs that belong in jail just because they're dangerous people, but the drugs specifically shouldn't be the reason why they're in jail. And someone like Chris Barkowitz, or Mark Emery, why should they have to sit in there in prison next to people that are rapists and have more time than some of these people who are rapists? I mean, it's 7 to 9 years in a lot of cases for sexual assault, and even for assault on a child.
Yeah, I mean,
there's
why
situations.
They do that,
there's a situation all the way from you can get life in prison or you can get 7 to 9 years. 7 to 9 years. When somebody with a cannabis offense or a drug offense gets 10, 20, 25 years sentenced. Now, granted, they may not serve that entire time, but there are people in prison for those just mismatched sentencing rules, dude. It's ridiculous. So, I mean, that's ultimately... how many times will we go over that?
It's frustrating, I hear you.
That's one thing that just we will constantly beat to death is that how ridiculous it is for people to still be in jail.
Well,
and here in Colorado, we really, really, really need to figure out here in the next couple of years some sort of situation for overhaul of getting those people out of jail. Like, I think I read earlier that Washington was possibly considering a bill that would wipe misdemeanors for cannabis offenses, would wipe it out from people's record. Let me see if I can find that
record
story.
or people currently serving time?
Let me see what the story is. Okay, here it is. It's from togothetown.com, one of my favorite places to go. Earlier this month, legislation was filed in Washington state that's drawn the praise of cannabis reform activists across the country. House Bill 1661, sponsored by a bipartisan assortment of 21 legislators, would allow individuals in the state with a cannabis possession misdemeanor to have it cleared or vacated from their record. So, I mean, that's fantastic. And misdemeanors are a little bit different of a story. I mean, it's like here's a misdemeanor and here's a felony.
Someone else made a good point in the chat room that I meant to bring up. Having a non-violent offense, it shouldn't be. Violent offenses are seen as worse than drug offenses. So,
But as a drug offender, you're considered a violent criminal.
They're saying you shouldn't have to disclose it to employers.
I don't think that nonviolent crimes should. I think that there are exceptions. You know, we could sit and talk about. You know, I think the other thing that comes up with this situation and freedom is prostitution. You know,
the oldest
some
profession in the world.
Some people think that, you know, a form of prostitution should be legal, and that people
It
get
is
in trouble
in Nevada, outside of Vegas, the whole state.
outside of it. I think, is it just the one county?
Just the one. As far as I know, it's just the one county.
Outside of I can't remember, what's the county's name?
Clark.
Clark County, is it? That's where the Bunny Ranch is.
Vegas is Clark County, I think.
Well, what's the county next to him?
I don't know. I didn't go to any prostitutes when I lived in Vegas.
I haven't ever.
I'm the only one in the world who's never gotten a hooker.
No,
gone
me.
to Vegas.
I've never gotten a
No.
hooker.
You got one. I didn't. That's how it went. I just said I'm the only one in the world who hasn't gotten a hooker in Vegas. How can you be me also?
I didn't. I have not. First of all, I would have to have money.
True.
You like how I say that's the first answer that I have for you? No, first of all, I'd have to have the money. Second of all, I'm not quite at that point in my life where I am ready to order a hooker yet. A prostitute. A woman of the night. A hooker sounds really dirty, dude.
You know what sounds
To
even
me,
worse?
it's like offensive. I wouldn't want to be called a hooker.
A Craigslist hooker sounds even worse.
Oh, dude. Does Craigslist still have that stuff on? I thought they banned that.
It all moved
know,
to
let me see.
Backpage or some sort of.
It's like
crap
back pay.
that.
I think there was a big campaign. There still is a big campaign against Craigslist
I'll look it up right now.
because there's like child sex trade going on there. It was a big. I don't know. Anyway,
Child sex trade highways on Craigslist.
yeah, it was a big issue at one point in time. I think
No, there's a casual encounters link right here.
there's a few other people that are.
That's a nice way to say pay for sex. Casual,
Casual
encounter.
I think I would put something up on Craigslist as, "Hey, what's up?" Before I would.
Yeah, you gotta.
That's pretty much like casting a net out. That is desperate. That's pretty desperate.
You ever go
Please have sex with me before I pay for a hooker.
You ever go see the best of Craigslist on the side there?
Yeah, I've seen that.
They got
stuff.
some crazy stuff in there.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine seeing that on Craigslist? I'm sure it's been before.
Probably.
Posted up before. Please.
Yeah, what hasn't? Some wild stuff on there.
There's some funny stuff
I
on here that I
haven't
can't
even
even
used.
read.
I don't think I've ever even used Craigslist for anything. I mean, oh yeah, I have. Yeah.
What?
I've used it to get my places to live. That's what it's great for.
It's great for a lot of stuff.
It's great for getting ripped off that way too.
If you can deal with a 50-50 return,
It's like
even less.
You go on there, it's
60,
like $800 a
40-60.
month for a house. And you're like, oh, fantastic! This house is so beautiful. Then you email them, and they email you back. They're like, send the money, and we'll send you the
Yeah,
key.
Yeah,
Jennifer was talking about that yesterday.
yeah. We've got.
You're
Yeah, we've had a few of those.
the listeners haven't met Jennifer before.
No.
She's new too.
Yeah.
Who's Jennifer?
That'd be my wife. She's awesome. She's at home, taking
She's
care
awesome.
of the girls that aren't in school.
She listens every day.
Got the boys in school. The girls are at home. Yeah.
Yeah, you got. See, you just let it out. You got kids, so we might pitch to you.
Yeah.
Get questions about the little ones.
Yeah, that's cool.
And series of bringing them up. Series of questions. I don't know what I'm talking about right now. I was looking at something else here and trying to. Let's just go back to this Washington bill. In practical terms, the measure would take on 1 ounce decriminalization brought forth by Initiative 502. And bill has been placed in the state's Rules Committee, where it's expected to be scheduled for a full House vote, according to representatives. Chances are really good that it will pass the House. Even so, it will be absolutely critical for constituents to look up and contact their district's legislators, urging them to support this common sense measure. Those in Washington who support this bill should make an effort to spread the word and contact their legislators. Those outside of Washington should use this as an example of how to retroactively make up for some of Prohibition's mistakes. I think it's a good move. It's having something as a misdemeanor on your record sucks, but I mean it's not really a massive hurdle to get over. It's a good thing to do though. I'd like to see something for felons. I really would. I'd like for us here in Colorado to make that attempt to happen. Anything having to do with cannabis being wiped off your record. All right, let's get to the federal policy on Washington and Colorado's marijuana situation here. We should hear an answer back from Eric Holder within the next couple of days. Oh, it's already noon. Let's talk about this just for a quick second. We'll give Mickey a call here in a second. I didn't realize that I was yammering on for an hour already. That's awesome. Yesterday, 8 former DEA administrators, we talked about it, sent a letter to ranking members of the Senate Judiciary Committee encouraging them to quiz U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder about why the Justice Department hasn't cracked down on Colorado and Washington State over their recently passed marijuana laws. This is written by Michael Roberts over at westward.com. A lot of our news comes from togathetown.com, westward.com, which are hand in hand with Village Voice Media. I also get a lot of my other news from Google News. Just go to Google, click on the news tab, and search marijuana. And there's quite a few great stories from all over the world that you can get. According to Seattle Times Chairman Patrick Leahy, gave Holder an opportunity to announce the department's intentions at a hearing yesterday. During testimony for what was it for? Let's see. I hope to force Holder in announcing federal actions before the committee during testimony. Oh, the Judiciary Committee. I read that at the very beginning. Anyway, he told senators that justice types were still considering how to react, but that a response would be coming soon. Holder said, "For those keeping score at home, this coming soon line has been used a number of times now, including late last month. The Washington Times adds that Justice Department will have to reduce expenses by more than $1 billion due to the sequester cuts that appear to be going through following the passage of a deadline last week," which, they've all gone through. We'll talk about that here soon, too. There might be... The drug war is probably going to feel some of this impact from the sequester, which is the government had built into, the economic recovery plan, that I think it was the economic recovery plan during that whole time. Anyway, they had decided that if something hadn't got done, that we hadn't reached a certain point, that these cuts were going to go through automatically. Government thinking that these cuts would not go through at all, that we would never hit this point, and they ended up happening. So it's tons of programs are being cut. I can't remember the exact number that the government has sequestered, but it's like I think I don't know. I'm brain farting here. You're supposed to help me out instead of staring at me, watching me drown.
I'm not supposed to look at you. You get flustered when I look at you.
I know. Well, no, I don't get flustered when you look.
Do.
I get flustered when you look at me and you just stand there and you're like, I'm listening.
Because you're talking, you mean?
I'm listening to you fall all over the place.
Hopefully something is going to come out of it. Anyways.
Hopefully something of sense will come out of this guy's mouth here in the next 20 minutes or so. Anyway.
Speaking of 20 minutes, we're only going to have about 20 minutes with Mickey.
Okay.
So
we'll give him a call. But the sequester, I think, just cut a ton of programs that were, things we need. Well, some of the first things that get cut are programs for older people, programs for people on welfare, programs for people that really need the money. Monster. All right, let's call him. Mickey Martin from California here on the line in just a minute. We're going to talk with him about what's up in California and some of the things that he is rowdy about, which I think everything. I realize I've been talking for an hour. I'm tired.
Hello.
Mickey Martin, it's John Doe. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Doing fantastic. We also have Chad and Bike with us here.
What's up, buddy?
What's going on there?
We have...
How's lovely Colorado?
We love it. It's beautiful today, actually. It was like 40 degrees coming in.
The legal weed was super tasty this morning.
Beautiful.
Yeah, the legal weed. California.
Always more beautiful when it's legal.
Tell us, why is California still not where Colorado is?
Oh, well, the big money made the choice to go with 2 states versus the money that they would have to put into one. California's a big nut to tackle, and there's a
what would California
pretty ingrained community here that has a lot of different ideas and directions.
I remember during Prop 19, there was just tons of back and forth between me and a lot of other people. Tons of back and forth between everybody. And I know that we had many conversations online. And when's California going to do it? I mean, you said that they tried to go, with Washington and Colorado that time around. But do you think that possibly some people have given up on kind of trying for California?
No, not at all. I just think
Ridiculous
it's a
statement.
matter of people disagree on timing at this point. Some people want to put on a 2016 campaign. Some people are looking for a 2014 campaign. And, I just think the world's changing quickly.
I think
it's going to be a more relevant point in the coming years. I just think policy is going to shift. I think public sentiment's shifted so far that the world around us is moving faster than the medical cannabis and the cannabis movement itself can keep up with. It's just it's an overwhelming, change in the way people are just viewing and accepting cannabis in general. And the more outspoken people you hear about it, and the more you hear it in the press, it's just it's becoming more and more clear that the war on cannabis is a failure, and that why do we continue to throw good money after bad if we've locked up 5 times as many people as the rest of the world, and yet weed is more available than ever, and nobody wants anybody in jail for it. So it's just hard for people to continue to justify that. Not that they won't continue to fight to justify that. Not that you won't continue to see the heads of the DEA, like you saw yesterday, come out in their normal drug warrior ways, or if you've been watching, the show Weed Country, you see the cops on there who talk about, how this is their mission to rid the world, and it's like, that's just not where people are anymore, and it's, and on top of that, it's just not working.
It's frightening that California hasn't legalized to this point if you're not really, involved with the politics of California. I think every 4 years they're going to have something on the ballot, or at least a massive attempt is going to be made by someone to get it onto the ballot. But it's frustrating to see California not part of the mix.
It is virtually legal. I mean, it's a pretty loosely regulated system. It's very much available, and even if you don't have a card, it's only $100 fine if you have less than an ounce. So there's not a big.
But I think
there's not a pressing issue, but the culture of it is, more where it's confusing as to why we're still here.
No, I understand that completely, but I think here in Colorado, that what you just mentioned of the $100 fine and then it being decriminalized here in Colorado, I think that went into play towards our benefit greatly when we brought Amendment 64 into the mix. It was like we had already had medical marijuana for so many years, and the discussion had happened for so long, and people were comfortable with the idea here in Colorado. I just think the politics here are just a little bit different. I think the big problem with California is there's too many people. There's too many minds flying around.
We're 33 million strong over here, so there's a lot to deal with. Northern California and Southern California are 2 different states, in my view. I mean, we've got, Colorado is sitting on 5 million people. It's easier to corral, and like I said, I mean,
we're a little more centralized.
And, the people who we're counting on for funding these efforts play these efforts like, Parcheesi almost, where it's, they're not going to play a losing hand. They're going to, if they can put their money on what seems like 2 safer bets in Washington and Colorado, then they're going to do that, and, unfortunately, California is a huge, mountain to overcome as far as the money you need to get signatures, the amount of people you need to get to vote for it, the many different regions and philosophies of the state. Including your Central Valley is much different than, your Humboldt areas, and you got your coastal areas, and LA is its own beast, and San Diego's a monster, and it's, so you're putting up with a lot of that. That being said, Prop 19, showed firsthand that, we were really close, and I think encouraged people to make the moves that they made in Colorado and Washington and, elsewhere that we see happening. So, it's a process. It's not probably how I would do it if I were, holding the purse strings, but, I'm obviously not, and So
Not
I
yet.
think, but where we're at now is we're looking at 2014 or 2016 in California, and the obvious choice is to build off the momentum from 2012 and go for 2014.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you think Colorado and Washington are going to
versus-
have a big impact on what California
Well,
does?
I think my main point that I make to people out here is that if we're looking 4 years from now, if you look at 4 years behind us, in March of 2009, there were 0 dispensaries in Colorado, and there was, not the regulated system and the entire, free market principles that have taken place out there. A lot of developed in 4 years. 4 years is a lifetime, so it's
We had
to think that, we're going to not take our own fate and destiny into our own hands and, put something on the ballot that people are ready to adopt and, and move forward with.
And like they're saying in the chat room, I mean, there was a big argument about the way that the laws were written in California and the way the Prop 19 was written. And here in Colorado, we got fortunate to have a pretty even keel of a bill put forward, and I mean, that went a lot towards passing. I know with medical marijuana, the regulations that we had before there was even regulations. I mean, it was like the Wild Wild West. The rules just allowed for people to be open to stack, patients and to open those dispensaries, and it just was unregulated market for a while. And that's how medical marijuana, I think, grew in our state. It was just allowed to open. A gate opened up, and people just came here. And then, like you said, in like 2009, it just exploded.
People had the courage to put it forward. I mean, give credit where credit's due. That people had the courage to open their doors, and see if they were going to get them kicked in or not.
That's a big thing. Is
that it's taken to get us to where we're at, and that's part of the thing that hampered California is that you have a lot more regulated system out there. People like yourself can't even get into the industry because it's so regulated. Other people,
we're losing him.
Are so hampered by the regulations that
Hey, Mickey, we're losing you.
At this point.
It's your phone's going out there.
People in Colorado are, it's a much different beast.
We got
you hear
you now.
me?
Yeah, we got you now. It was cutting out there a minute ago, but we got you now. Go ahead.
Yeah, so my point is that, in Colorado, you guys have a different beast going on out there as far as, your regulated system, is a different situation completely than what we face out here, So, people like yourself can't even get into the industry out there.
There are ways for people
there's a lot
to
of barriers to entry. There's people that are giving their weed away because of the competitive environment. So I think, it's a more attractive environment to them to possibly open up the doors to a much larger population of people who will need their services versus, California, where people were pretty hunkered down and pretty comfortable with what they had in 2010. No matter how much you told them that the sky would eventually fall and that this wouldn't last forever and that a crackdown would eventually come, that nobody wanted to listen because things were very easy and people were happy.
Yeah, the Fed issue in California is a really, really big deal, and we haven't had to deal with that here in Colorado at all. I mean, we haven't had a situation where feds have just randomly, random or not, whether you want to call it that, but we haven't seen the raids that California has seen, here in Colorado, and that's been a big fuse for everybody here in Colorado, the businesses that have set up shop. I mean, they've counted on that to continue to stay the same and not have federal, interaction with us on the ground level. I can see, with Eric Holder taking time to put out his comments and put out his suggestions for what the states are going to do, I can see that situation happening, and that's them, speaking loudly and bluntly, about cannabis, like they've done before. They've said one thing and done a whole nother thing. I mean, that's what I'm not really counting on necessarily is what Eric Holder is going to say and if it's going to actually change anything. Because if they said things before, of like, we're not going to go after cannabis patients or dispensaries that are operating legally, under state law, and they're fine. And they still, came around and went to places in California.
Well, I mean, see, if you want to be honest about it, and if we looked at our own movement with a critical eye every once in a while, we would understand that after October 19th of 2009, when the Ogden memo was released, our industry acted poorly. We did a terrible job of self-policing ourselves, and what happened was people took advantage of a system in California that has little regulation and pressed the issue, opened up in places where they were not welcome, and a lot of people, it's either here or there. Some people, I understand the fight and the struggle to, provide access, but at the same time, when you move into a town and you piss off the district attorney and you piss off the sheriff and you piss off the entire city council and you make the city sue you to get you out of there and spend millions of dollars of their own resources to close you down, it becomes a hassle, and that happened all over California. And what happened was you got a lot of public officials and district attorneys and sheriffs, looking to the DEA and saying, why aren't you doing something about this? Why is there full-page ads in, the local weekly, with half-naked chicks, selling weed to my kid? So, we can't look and say, oh, they're just picking on us, because we didn't exactly put our best foot forward. And
Well,
I think
in
there's
some
hours
instances
and
they are
hours of
picking on us.
television shows to prove that.
Yeah, they are picking on us in some instances. But what you're saying about us not being responsible with it, the naked ladies all over around. I think at one of the cannabis conventions there in California, there was they had basically like a wet T-shirt contest. I think is what something like that. And that's definitely not being responsible.
Stories.
Yeah, there's tons of
So,
stories.
so if we want to blur the lines, then that's fine. But if we're going to continue to put forth our medical foot, then we need to adopt more of the medical norms of our society, and that's where we have failed a lot. And that's that's not necessarily a bad thing, because marijuana has its own cultures and norms too. But it's difficult. We put ourselves in a difficult position. We painted ourselves into a corner, and unfortunately, a lot of our people haven't towed that line, and put that best foot forward, and it's ended up in wet T-shirt contests or bikini car washes or the multiple other things that may or may not be associated with what our society deems as a medical situation.
You do have hash bars and stuff like that in California too. We don't really have any hash bars here. We did, but we don't. I saw the other day a video. For some reason,
there's a couple
I laughed at the Harlem
that are
Shake
doing
videos.
Tastings.
There was a
concentrate
Bud Root video.
tastings, I guess, and that's an interesting concept.
That sounds like a fun loophole.
Yeah, there was a Harlem Shake video for people in a hash
that's
bar.
The difference, is that Colorado has
Ridiculous.
guidelines set for the entire state. California doesn't. So you get a jurisdiction who's doing this, another person who's doing that. What's legal by state law out here? What is clear and unambiguous compliance with state law out here is anybody's fucking guess. I've been closely watching the situation for, well over 15 years, and I can tell you I have no idea what is clear and unambiguous compliance with state law.
You'll find out the hard way.
It's evolving as we speak, which is not the way that we should be operating. So we haven't held the state's feet to the fire enough to provide that guidance, which is another thing that
Need to switch to it from
Colorado
nonprofit.
probably has over us is with a smaller population and a smaller amount of legislatures, it's easier to get a vote in one direction or another on something controversial like marijuana. To whereas they can't even pass a budget here in California. So asking them to talk about weed is a whole different situation.
Yeah. At least the idea is being batted around, and at least it's still something in California that's a very positive situation for the rest of the country. It's still open. There's still the hash bars that we talked about. There's still medical marijuana. There's still a ton of people growing. So the one thing I wanted to get into before...
California gets a bad rap. California... Hundreds of thousands of people have access to clean, safe, cannabis in a well-lit environment, and it provides a lot of resources to local governments. A lot of the nonprofits here do great work in their communities. So, California's system, for all of its flaws and for all of its, ambiguity, is a great system. Especially in the places that have well-regulated and clear guidelines for their ordinances and people who work with it. And, that's a lot of work to do. But, that being said, California, the small batch producer that's allowed here, is one thing that, is definitely, I think, a big advantage to the patient. They have a lot more variety, a lot different selection, and, I think the quality of medicine, improves with that concept. I would love to see Colorado allow for more small licensing of small batch producers. The same way I encouraged Oakland, instead of trying to license 4 huge people, why not license 1,000 small people?
Well, I think here in Colorado, anybody can. I mean, it's well, not anybody could go get it. There was a moratorium for quite a while here in Colorado, and the money that the amount of fees that it costs to get up and running is just insane and over the top. I think, and it's not even close to. I think they're more than a casino has to pay. That's just ridiculous. More than a casino, more than a strip club. That's ridiculous. But Mickey, we didn't get a chance to at the beginning. I totally rolled into what we were going to talk about and just a discussion with you. But a lot of people may know you that they don't know that they know you. You had at one point in time a company called Tainted.
Yeah, I ran a food-based medicine company called Tainted Incorporated, also known as Cancer and Medicinal Edibles, and yeah, we were rated in 2007 by the DEA.
Everybody may remember what were some of the products that you had?
Well, that's a funny story. So we initially, began. We may have started the parody logo phenomenon of the Reefer's Peanut Butter Cup.
They're wonderful. Chris Bliss gave me some of those one time.
And, some of the Snickers bars was called Stoners, and we did a Keith Cat and Buddha Fingers and other things like that. And, these were the beginning days when we were sure that every day was our last day in business. And,
you want a cup?
We were younger. And then, as things moved on and the rates decision came about and, dispensaries were evolving in Los Angeles, we changed all of our product lineup to just Tainted Medicinal Edibles, and, it was very standardized medical packaging, and then we changed the name of the company to Compassion Medicinal Edibles even further down the road, and then about a year after that we were rated. So
yeah. But did you get prosecuted?
I did. They tried to give me 10 years for being an organizer leader, and I ended up taking a plea deal and pled guilty to conspiracy to manufacture and distribute products containing trace amounts of THC, which didn't carry a mandatory minimum and allowed me to take up my case with the judge at sentencing, which allowed me to get a reduced sentence of a year and a halfway house and a year on house arrest and 5 years probation. So, all in all, compared to a lot of people who, were in the same game at the same time, I lucked out great.
It's an amazing story.
But still, you spent a year on house arrest, a year, and had to go to halfway house. That sucks.
It did suck. It was difficult, but it was a very interesting trip through the federal system. It was interesting to see it from that side of it and to actually take the opportunity to educate some of the people within that system, about marijuana, about medical marijuana, and about, and it was interesting for me to see how many people in that system disagree with the system. And that, that they house and enforce and lock people up that they don't themselves consider criminals.
But it's their
A lot
job.
of these people have brothers and sisters who smoke weed. Hell, they might smoke weed themselves. The halfway house happened to be a privately owned, by Geo Prison Corporation's facility, which was a whole different wrinkle where you see how a private corporation housing federal inmates and state inmates as well.
Yeah, GeoCorp is a private corporation traded on the stock market, if you didn't know that, everybody.
Which is terrible. The fact that that it's good business for any company to lock people up is terrible for our society. And
They're making money off of people locked up.
Do
Ridiculous.
something to change that, we're going to see more and more mass incarceration, and it's incredible that we allow for it.
It's extremely frustrating, man. That's what I was talking about earlier, that they are the criminals. That's mainly what I was getting to, is that the people doing this to us, they're criminals. Their behavior is unconstitutional, and they should be ashamed of themselves. I remember one of the first things that I was ever told after I got in trouble was that I didn't do anything wrong, and that they were the ones doing wrong. Mason DeVert told me that from Safer.
Absolutely. They're war criminals, but, at this point, what amazes me is that how many people in our society that I talk to outside the cannabis bubble have no idea what our society actually does and how many people we actually lock up.
Yeah, exactly.
And what we do to small, petty drug offenders as far as ruining their lives and kicking their doors in and searching their property and taking their kids and, destroying their standing in the community. It's unthinkable, but most people aren't aware of that.
Nope.
They don't understand that. They don't see that side of it. And until we can make that message clear, until we can make people understand that these are your neighbors that they're doing this to, and then we're doomed.
If you get in trouble, you become an activist, man. That's how it happens. Once you figure out what's going on in this system and the bullshit that you have to go through from top to bottom and the tag that you're left with, the branding that you're left with after it's all over. I mean, a lot of people, everybody pretty much becomes an activist. So it'd be nice to see more people that don't smoke come over to our side and get more active. I think that's happening more and more as our culture accepts it. Here in Colorado, we see business owners, that are happy that this has happened. You see specials on menus, people's menus, the 420 special, and names of from our culture have ended up on just everywhere. It's awesome. It's really cool to see. Mickey, I know that we only have you for a small amount of time here. You probably got to go here in a few minutes. But was there anything else that you wanted to toss in here, or in the future, something else that when we talk with you that maybe we'll cover a little bit more?
Oh, I hope I'm heavily anticipating Eric Holder's response, and I hope it's meaningful and real and puts forth a policy that will end the federal interference into states' drug laws, and hopefully states like Colorado will explode with popularity, and other states will follow suit shortly thereafter.
What are you anticipating from the announcement when they finally make it?
Well, I guess the only thing I can read into it is that if it was go fuck yourself, that they would have already told us that.
I agree there.
I think they would have done that too already.
So, the best thing I can hope for is that they're trying to figure out how to break it to the prison and alcohol industries and all those guys that, that the jig is up.
Right. That would be fantastic, and that makes a lot of sense, I think. All the money that those...
And then, if not, then I guess we fight on.
The only thing that I'm worried about is a lawsuit. That's really the only thing that I'm concerned about, is if they file a lawsuit. But even then, how would the state respond to that? They would take money away from us, is what would happen. That's where they're going to hit us.
We'll be all right. We'll figure it out.
They're going to take road funds from us or something else. A big thing too with here in Colorado, why people like our laws, because a lot of the taxes are going to go towards schools. So another reason
and that's where it's at. It's the carrot on the stick, and hopefully what we pay in taxes down the road will pale in comparison to what we pay in the prohibition tax now.
Yeah.
The price of weed. I'm looking forward to a $50 ounce, and if you want to charge me 20% tax on that baby, knock yourself out.
That's what's going to happen here in Colorado. It's coming right away. That's the first thing I think that came up the other day was, 15 to 25% tax?
Oh. Yeah, well, but the severity, you already see it out there. You guys are paying tax on $25 rates, where people in California are still paying tax on $50 rates.
Yeah, that is one complaint that I do.
In a free market's going to reduce the principal cost, which is really where you're at. If they want to tax us at a higher rate, I'm fully expecting of that. I think it's wrong and immoral, and I think 10 years from now people will laugh at, that it was like that. But, they tax cigarettes and booze at a little higher rate as well. And
California
those guys seem to do all right. California
needs to number one, make it from a nonprofit to a profit, because the federal laws do not allow the dispensaries to. You can't pay 30% taxes to the feds, stay open, have all this overhead. It's just ridiculous. I want to make sure that I don't get any complaints from Californians, because I love California, even though I've never been there. California, you're awesome. I'm not digging into you at all here. The only thing that I do kind of have that issue with California is, number one, that some of the prices are still high in a lot of areas, even though there is readily available greens all over. It hasn't followed the market. I think that's a lot of the reason is because of the
Cost of living.
the nonprofit situation. It's really expensive to run a dispensary in California and to keep it running. And the other thing is, just pass a legalization measure, California. Come on. I think California is a key to this whole thing. I mean, California or Colorado, Washington, other states can pass rules and can pass legalization, but I think until we get California, that there are going to be some hindrances along the road. So you're a big key to this.
2014, we're working on it, and we are 10% of the nation, so it's a big chunk. So we can knock out at once if we can pull it off. Right now the Jack Rare is just trying to fire up and get filed in May or June, and maybe we can get some money together for signatures like that. And
yep.
Hopefully, I like to see big people in the entertainment industry who've made a killing off doing songs and movies.
Yeah, the entertainment industry and other people. Yeah, exactly.
Throw a few bucks in the hat. Let's get this shit going. Put one on at every state that we can put one on until we can't put them on no more. Money shouldn't be huge, Johnny. Let's not fool ourselves. Peter Lewis and George Soros make enough money to fund a California initiative every day before lunch. So the money's not the issue. For those guys with ego, and they, like I said, they play it like a game. They're not going to bet on a hand that they could even possibly lose, and that's where we're failing at. But the people who, make their killing and they're living off of it, let's get together, let's do it.
Yeah, I agree, man. It needs to happen, but I can see why it hasn't. Mickey, we probably got to let you go here. I think that we had like 20 minutes with you, and we took 30. So that's
yes, sir, boss. I got to hit the road.
That always happens here on the John Doe Radio Show. We just get to yamming, and that's what.
Very fun and exciting.
But if there's anything else you want to talk to us about, email me anytime, man. Send me a message on Facebook. I keep a watch on your feed quite a bit because you're a very vocal person in the community, and a lot of what you say makes sense. It's very blunt.
It's simple. Stop taking people to jail for weed, damn it.
Yeah, exactly. So we really do appreciate your work in the community and, everything that you've done. And the whole Tainted situation, it's interesting. If people want to go research that a little bit, and check that out. They know you.
People can check me out on my blog at weedactivist.com, and they can check out my book, Medical Marijuana 101, if they want.
What's the blog again? The first one you said?
Weedactivist.com.
Weedactivist.com. All right. Well, thank you very much, Mickey. We'll get you on here soon. I think you'll probably be one of our main correspondents out there in California. So.
All right. We'll get that man on the street segment going sooner or later.
Dude, that hell yes. Yes. All right, man. Have yourself a great day.
Later, dude.
See you, man. Mickey Martin from California. He's an activist out there in California, very vocal activist, and that's how I like him. Vocal. Up front.
Probably my favorite Yankees fan as well. I don't have many favorite Yankees fans.
Is there a favorite Yankees fan? That's not really...
Not something you hear come out of a Red Sox fan.
Exactly.
But we need Mickey. Mickey's awesome.
I want to take a hit right now so bad.
Tell him I was just thinking about that.
Like I'm telling you, it gets to that hour and a half mark on the show, and I'm like,
we just need weed that lasts longer. Does that exist?
Yes, a time-released weed capsule.
That sounds horrible.
Sounds horrible?
Yeah, because you can't get the same buzz you get from eating a weed pill any edible than you do when you smoke weed.
But at that point, maybe it's been. Not manufactured. I mean, manufactured, I guess is the right word. Not ruined.
You're setting yourself up for failure here. You can't.
I know.
Try it and see if you can
turn it over to the pharmaceutical company or pill makers and process anything is going to get me lambasted. No, but what if there's somebody out there that eventually does make some sort of like all cannabis type product and it's like sort of time release? I don't know. It couldn't be all cannabis because the time release would have to be something.
You just take an edible, don't they last? I mean, it takes like a half hour to kick in, and they last a couple
Edibles
hours.
don't work for me really that much.
Yeah, I guess.
I eat an edible, and all it does is give me indigestion a lot of the time. Especially if it's coconut oil, made with coconut oil. Oh, I don't know what that is. I get like the burps. Maybe too much information for everybody, but honestly, that's why I think that a lot of people do get that. They get those hash burps.
I don't mind that. It tastes pretty good if it's a can of burp.
You take a pill and like that hash oil just gives you, it gives me indigestion. All right, we didn't talk about some news stories because I just rambled on.
Get a mouth on you.
Rambled on for a complete hour. Let's get back to that story. What do you?
Just Yellow on a Cake says she'll get you some edibles that'll work.
Everybody says that. I mean, I'm not doubting that Yellow on a. By the way, Darla in the chat room here, she's a cook and has a cannabis cookbook out there. So she would probably know what she's talking about. And I'm not saying that she couldn't get me high off the edibles. They just don't really work for me. I have taken a couple 1,000 milligram dose, and that affected me, and it knocked me the fark out. But it was mostly knocking me. It mostly like knocked me out. I get to that point where it's like, it's just a flat line kind of, and I feel a little bit different, but not as much as if I were to like take a couple hits of Earl, and it kind of goes like this, and then I'll feel a little high, and then boom,
just a cliff.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're broken.
Jeez.
I don't even really feel like I get too high anymore when I do smoke. I feel like I regulate more than anything. It's not getting high.
You're
it's
not
like
partying.
Getting normal. Huh?
You sound like you're partying.
No. Not partying. Like, it's been that way for a while. I just think some people, reach a certain point or regulated level, and it's your tolerance gets up to that point, and you
smoke a lot more oil than weed.
I do smoke a ton more oil than weed, and that's pretty much when
it's
it came.
It's a lot cleaner high. It's a lot different.
That's kind of when it came around too. Was when I started smoking.
Smoke some weed once in a while, you get high.
I have been, but I don't feel high unless I'm like 10 rips in or 5 bowls in or something like that. Anything before that, I know I'm getting high. I know I'm medicating myself because I do feel
better,
normal.
You just tolerance is so high that you don't feel the effect quite as much.
And when I say normal, I don't mean that this is like, I mean, if you were to say like with another drug, like if you were taking pills or if you're an alcoholic, heavy into that, and you say, oh, yeah, I feel normal when I take it, that's an addiction. That's an addiction. I could stop smoking weed and not have an issue. It helps with anxiety, it helps me with my headaches, and those sort of things become more upfront of an issue. They become more of something that I have to, use other things to control, maybe take more Excedrin or a painkiller or whatever it is, or an anxiety pill. But with cannabis, when I talk about reaching normal, it's medicating yourself. I mean, it's using it for a purpose that would otherwise be used, with a pill or, some other doctor would hand it over to you. And in my experience, for some people, taking pill medication, well, this is an obvious thing, is more harmful to you than cannabis could ever do. And a lot of the times causes more problems than what you were wanting to solve. There are antidepressants, there are anxiety pills, there are painkillers. All of those can cause you problems and have serious side effects.
You end up with something you didn't even have in the first place.
Yeah, end up with something you didn't even have in the first place. And then maybe it doesn't even address the first problem that you had. Yeah. Here this past year, the anti-anxiety medication that I took, it's like if you don't take it responsibly, or if you rely on that completely and don't maybe go sit with somebody and maybe talk out issues, you can become dependent on anything. You can become dependent on cannabis mentally. Your brain just trigger, it's something that your brain mentally is saying, okay, I want to smoke now. Okay, I'll feel better if I do this, because your brain's, in my opinion, guiding you to use cannabis and to feel better. It's not a physical reaction to where, you're sitting there and you're like, smoke weed right now. I mean, it might be like that sometimes, but there are underlying conditions that cause that. It's not the cannabis that is causing that. Say if you were to do, be addicted to painkillers or be addicted to something else, you may have this physical withdrawals from it. I have not experienced that with cannabis.
Yeah, I've quit cold turkey a couple times when I had to, like Army and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've had to do it before too. And then recently here, I just haven't had a lot of cash. I haven't had the ability to smoke. So, oh well.
Yeah.
You just got to deal with it. And then that's where cannabis becomes a problem. Is if you, and we've mentioned this before, is if you can't afford it. And you're spending your money on cannabis where you should be spending other things. But then there's also an argument on that is it's a medication. Maybe you have to have it. Maybe it keeps you alive. Which that can be questioned, and people can argue about that. People's will to live is something huge. If you have cancer, or if you have AIDS, late stages, it can make you feel better, can give you that drive to just keep going. And not even getting into the fact that it can help shrink tumors. More and more the science of how it's being used to battle cancer has come out. All right.
Seems like you'll be more open to that. And not too long ago, you weren't too open to hearing about the cannabis cancer correlation.
I didn't. Well, I don't want to fill people with false hope. That's the thing. And at one point in time, I was talking with a guy who had a 6-year-old niece, I think is what it was, in their family that had been diagnosed with leukemia, a form of cancer, and talked about it being a cure for cancer. And that's a really hard thing to discuss with somebody, when they're sitting there talking to you about this situation, has to deal with a kid, let's say somebody with cancer, and to sit there and rationally talk with them about it. I mean, it's not a cure for cancer. It's not. If it were a cure for cancer, then see things like this. Like Mike just put up a picture. Cannabis is my medicine, and it's cured my cancer.
This is the Brave Michaela story.
Brave Michaela story. And this is where that could get me into trouble with a lot of people, is because I will say that cannabis is not a cure for cancer yet.
What about this particular situation here?
It can help. And I'm not saying that it wasn't something that did help cure her cancer. I'm not saying that it wasn't that
In this situation, it's tricky because when there's a child involved, you have to give them chemotherapy.
If it were a cure, then it would cure everybody. It would help everybody.
How do you
I'm
know
not saying
that
it doesn't help, because it hasn't. Because of Michelle Rainey, a couple other friends that I know.
Was it administered in time?
Oh yeah, dude. Michelle Rainey, Mark Emery's one of Mark Emery's friends, and part of the BC3. When that whole seed situation went down with Mark Emery, the owner of Cannabis Culture, used to be a magazine out of Canada, great magazine, in fact. Lots of great articles were written in there. I wrote a couple articles for the website. We were in Cannabis Culture, and Michelle Rainey had cancer, man, and she heavily fought cancer with cannabis and cannabis extract. And she passed away. And a few other friends that I know have passed away from cancer, and that's what they used. And one of them solely used, cannabis to help cure it, and went away pretty quick. And this is not like 10 years ago. This is, a couple years ago. And that's where I sort of had that issue with calling cannabis a cure for cancer. I'm not saying that it won't be someday, that there won't be something from cannabis that is developed into a cure for cancer, or that cannabis currently isn't helping reduce tumor sizes, isn't stopping necessarily cancer from spreading. That's not what I'm saying at all. It can help you if you are seriously ill. It can help you, especially with cancer and AIDS. People can eat if they have AIDS. Because of all the medication that they are having to take, a lot of the time they just can't eat. They're throwing up. And cannabis in that way is a lifesaver for them. It's almost in the same way. Difference between AIDS, cancer, I guess, is the research out there that says that when cancer is heavily attacked, it helps reduce the tumors. And there's also one study that I read out there that I think it was something they've developed in a laboratory a synthetic drug, part synthetic, part natural, that it's super highly concentrated. And the report said something about it. It stopped the cancer from spreading, completely stopped the cancer from spreading, and helped reduce cancer cells. It's just a tough one to talk about. I am way more open to that. That was my older opinion, I guess you could say.
I noticed right away because I was stuck out of my head because I try to have a more, not saying you're having a negative outlook on it, I just try to have a more positive outlook on it, saying that I've read 100 stories and
I agree. My outlook's not like, I'm not sitting here saying, oh yeah, it's a cure.
I can respect you having some hesitation and jumping in head first.
I would like to see more science. I would like to see something that multiple studies that actually list cancer as this being a. See, that's where I've changed my thought now. As I'm sitting here trying to explain some of my old thoughts, and to me, that science has changed over the past couple of years. There are situations to where cancer is reducing the tumor cells, is reducing that,
killing cells and preventing new cells from growing.
Yeah,
in a lot of cases.
So I guess where I'm going is the cure. Cure. I have an issue with that word.
That's a fancy word.
Because it gives people false hope. It really does. It gives people false hope for this situation. And I don't think that anybody should go into the cancer fight thinking that there is a 100% cure out there. You have to fight hard.
I'll tell you what.
It's a horrible disease, man. You can't not let your guard down with cancer.
I know
Use
what I would do.
anything you can.
And I know you would probably do the same thing if you found out today that you had...
You feel comfortable with, I mean.
You left here today, you went and called your doctor, and you got the report you had cancer. I had cancer. I would go home, activate some oil, and start gobbling it, and I wouldn't stop.
Yeah, I mean, yes, 100%. Yes.
You would do the same too with the hopes because you've heard, excuse me.
It's not going to hurt you.
It's not the New England Journal of Medicine reporting on it saying that it's a cure for cancer. Excuse me.
And that's what I'm with you on that 100%, that I would go use as much extract as I possibly can. But at the same time, I don't know that I would just use that. I would continue to follow maybe doctor guidance.
What if the doctor wanted you to get on chemotherapy and radiation?
I would probably do it.
That's where we differ right there. I never would.
I would probably do it.
I would take the chance. I've seen chemotherapy kill more people than I've seen cannabis. So.
That does make me hesitant about. I've seen people on chemotherapy, and I mean it's scary.
It might kill you.
Cancer is a scary. It's cancer and AIDS, two of the biggest things. My biggest fear is to get.
How about do you know the story yesterday
life-changing disease
about doctors cured a baby with AIDS?
Yeah, I did see that story.
I didn't read too much into it, but that sounded promising.
I did see that. Tough topic. What up?
There's a good story here on the chat. She's saying her mother had stage 3 lung cancer. And she was on everything drug-wise, and then she took her off half, and she's been taking edibles and vaping, and her tumors have stopped spreading, and her lungs are actually clear.
Yeah, I won't argue that. I'm not going to argue that because that's a person's story. That's what they're experiencing. It's fact. I mean, it's fact, and I do believe that cancer will reduce tumors and stuff. I don't think it's a cure. You cannot just take something that's made from cannabis, and it's not gonna be the cure for everybody.
Yeah, she's saying it's not a fix, but she's a lot happier and she can eat.
Exactly, and that I won't argue about, and that I want to make clear that to everybody that I'm not trying to kill your hopes here or dash anything that you're gonna try. And really, we didn't even need to go into it that much. But it's been a heavy topic that people have, that's one of the things that I think since we've started the show that people have sort of had an issue with, haven't agreed with me on, and I've kind of heard some flack back is when we talk about the cancer situation. So let's I want to make sure that we at least cover a few stories from this news. Read off everything at the beginning, and we're going to go into this.
Last 10 minutes.
We get to nothing. That's how we roll on JDR. We were talking about the federal policy. Eric Holder, we've been talking about it all day, coming out possibly here in the next couple of days. And Mickey Martin saying, and me agreeing that if they were going to knock it down and completely, swing for the fences with our heads on top of the T, they would have already probably done that. So maybe we'll see something positive. Keep an open mind about it. Washington's the other state that legalized cannabis, and we haven't done a great job of following Washington. I haven't done a great job of following Washington here this past year, so we want to make sure that we keep continuing to cover them and follow their mix of things. I think their timeline is a little bit slower than what we have here in Colorado. I heard back from someone in Washington saying, like, we were starting to get our processes. People were starting to, think about if they wanted to open shops, and the rules were going to be had. And then later on this year, people will apply, and then in January, those licenses will get issued. I think it's a little different process in Washington. But we'll have somebody from Washington get on the phone with us, probably either a lawyer or a heavily involved activist, and explain what's going on there and follow, from right now till that point that they, follow through maybe with shops and other things. I honestly do not know, and I don't even think that I've read through, which this is embarrassing to say, I don't think I've even read through Washington's legislature. I think I did when it first came out, but I don't really remember too much from it. So did read through Colorado's a million times. 7:13 a.m. Wednesday, U.S. Senator Patrick Leahy of Vermont popped the question to federal attorney Eric Holder. We talked about that in Senate Judiciary Committee. At a far-ranging, we already read that. Early risers in Colorado and Washington turned to C-SPAN and watched it happen live. Holder said he had good conversations with elected leaders in those states. His answer back, including Washington: "We expect our ability to announce a policy relatively soon." In what Leahy called a bit of editorializing, he suggested that Holder's Department of Justice should pursue more serious things than minor possession of marijuana, which is a good thing. More and more legislators, more and more politicians coming out to say that we need to transfer the focus of monies, especially at this point in time, from the drug war, from cannabis persecution, to other things. Those other things are probably general fund money, is where this money would go.
To be fair, both sides.
I thought this article was going to talk a little bit more about Washington's situation, but the last paragraph's all it hints. Holcomb's view. Allison Holcomb is the author of Washington's new pot law. Her view is shared by key figures in Washington state who think that Holder wants to see more details of what the state-regulated marijuana systems will look like in Colorado and Washington, and how they will safeguard against leakage of legal pot into the black market before he announces a policy. Can we just stop lying that cannabis is not everywhere in the United States, that it's not being shipped around, that California isn't a huge resource for cannabis, that Colorado isn't a huge resource for cannabis? I mean, it's true. Period, end of story. I'm not going to fight the situation, and I'm not going to fight the fact that there is a lot of cannabis coming out of California, that there's a lot of cannabis coming out of Colorado. It's a simple fact. And what we're going to talk about here in just a second, the person, the Westward rider being singled out, maybe in a group of cars because you got a Colorado license plate, being pulled over, and then automatically assuming, the cop automatically assumes that, you've got cannabis in the car or some other drug because you're from Colorado. That's these repercussions that are going to come from some of these laws. That's why we just beat the fact that you need to be careful when you're driving into other states. Be aware of the spotlight that's on Colorado. Right?
Good reason not to leave the state.
Why do you need to leave Colorado?
Right.
All right, this Westward rider, in writing about the marijuana possession arrest of Brighton's Brian, how do you say this name? Unbaham. I think that's how you say the name. We explored claims Westward did that cars with Colorado plates are being profiled in other states because of our marijuana laws. Since then, more profiling anecdotes have rolled in amid related reports, like a TV station piece about an alleged drug pipeline between Colorado and Nebraska. We talked about that on the first day. Now, however, we've got the best evidence yet that such profiling is a thing, thanks to Westwarder Britt Chester, who was stopped and hassled not once, but twice in 1 week. I've been pulled over twice by cops, too. I mentioned this before, and both times, when I was in the car, I wasn't driving, the cop just immediately started digging marijuana questions, like, I smell marijuana. Are you high? Is there any weed in the car? I think it's just a norm for him now. Chester is well known to readers of our Backbeat blog for his concert reviews and photography. He's also occasionally ventured into the latest word, too, as in December... A December post about his arrest for skateboarding, a dust-up that resulted in him posing for one of the sweetest ever mugshots under his given name, Jonathan Chester. The mugshot is funny. He's all like... Despite his love for Colorado, though, Chester recently decided to move back to his home state of North Carolina to be closer to family, among other things. And last week, he and a pal set out for the journey in a truck with a Colorado license plate. But they didn't get far before they ran afoul of the law. We were about halfway through Kansas when a state trooper pulled us over. On what pretext? Driving in the left lane, he replies. I didn't even know that was a law. He should know that is a law, because here in Colorado, you can't drive in the left lane on a highway besides to pass somebody.
I think that's just rude anyways.
It is. It's funny how nobody really follows that law either. All right, the past couple of years, they've made driving in the left lane illegal, I guess, in Kansas. Unless you're passing. We weren't speeding. They were driving in the left lane. I think we established they were driving in the left lane. Did we establish they were driving in the left lane?
Twice, yeah.
5 times. Not that this appears to have been the real reason Chester captured the trooper's attention. He was really nice, one of the nicest law enforcement officers I've ever met, Chester notes, and he said, hey, listen, a lot of people are trafficking marijuana out of Colorado. Some of it's for medical purposes, some of it's for profit. Do you mind if I look in your trunk? As the mugshot above indicates, Chester has had some experience with interacting with authorities, and he understood that he didn't have to allow his truck to be searched, but while he's been known to enjoy the occasional bud, I knew we didn't have anything on us, he says. We had some rolling papers, but there was no pot, no paraphernalia, so he said, okay. I can tell you that you should say no. I am one of those people that thinks that you should push your rights wherever you can, especially when it comes to law enforcement. And I don't mean like push your rights, like pushing it. You're pushing it, bud. I mean, use your right. You have the right to say, no, you cannot search my vehicle.
Did you read up to the part where they brought the dog and he saw the cop tap, and then when the dog started barking? We haven't got to that part. It's interesting. I don't know if you had read that yourself.
No, I haven't read this story yet. I should read through all the stories before we start the show. Shh. You're throwing me under the bus there, bud.
Keeps it interesting.
All right. Where was I at? The trooper looked around, and when he didn't see anything untoward, what does that mean? He didn't see anything untoward.
Fancy word.
I know. 10-point word. He allowed Chester and his friend to be on their way, but the failure to catch them riding dirty wouldn't dissuade him from using the same technique in the future. He said they were keeping their eye out for Colorado plates, Chester recalls. His brethren further east were doing likewise, as Chester discovered upon hitting Tennessee. Upon his arrival in the volunteer state, Chester was pulled over again, and this time the trooper doing the deed wasn't as polite as the Kansas colleague. He sounded pretty aggressive. Chester points out he introduced himself and said, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" I said, "No." He said, "You were going 75 in a 70 zone." Understandably, Chester was flabbergasted by the explanation. My first thought was, there were cars passing me. But it didn't take long to discover that the trooper had something else in mind other than extraordinarily minor speeding violation. The next questions were, do you have marijuana? Do you have any paraphernalia? What do you have in your car? I said we didn't have anything. But he asked me to step out of the car, and when I did, he questioned me some more. Do you have any syringes? Do you have any needles? Do you have any marijuana, meth, heroin? Basic interrogation questions. I said no, and he said, do you mind if I search your vehicle? Because of the officer's tone, Chester thought twice about granting permission this time. Because I'm telling you, I am telling you, man, if an officer is going to be this aggressive towards you, there's a good chance that throughout the arrest that he's going to be this aggressive towards you. Now, there's a chance that you'll defuse the officer. Be nice, but be forward. Know your rights is the bottom line. Who's to know if this officer could bring, like you were saying, bring a dog around, dog triggers. He says he's found something. He arrests you for, putting your rights. I mean, make sure that you know your rights. One time I got pulled over in the mountains, and this police chief of this small town, it's the town I was born in Kremlin, Colorado. I was coming from Steamboat to Denver. I got pulled over in Kremlin for not stopping fully at a stop sign, which was BS. The cop couldn't see me on the other side of the road because there was a trailer in the way, big 18-wheeler trailer. It was between me and the cop, and when I turned, he just assumed. And I could see why he assumed, because the stop sign was behind these trees that had come down. So it was like, it was the city's job to remove the trees from the freaking stop sign. So if I would have gotten a ticket, I totally would have taken that in. I would have taken a picture of the stop sign and the trees covering it. But I did see the stop sign. It's my hometown. And so I stopped there and then went. The cop pulled out behind me. I think he was just coming out from across the street and from the park. And he just pulled behind me randomly. He wasn't going to follow me or anything, I don't think. But he saw me come out of that direct location. Followed me all the way through town. And then when I got to the end of town, the last 5 feet probably of the city limits, he flips on his lights. I pull in to the very first driveway, the last driveway in town that I saw, and turned off the car, put my hands on top of the wheel, rolled down my window, and he just was coming up to my car screaming, yelling at me that I could have gotten killed. Why didn't I pull over? And it rattled me. I was rattled, dude. I started shaking. I had just got done, and I'm not suggesting that smoking while driving is a good idea, but I just got done smoking a joint, and I'd put it down inside the little, there's a little where the handle is where you pull the door closed.
Sure.
It was just sitting in there. But the cop didn't know this. I'd smoked it even before I'd gotten into town. And he come up to the car yelling at me why I didn't pull over and that I could have been killed. That's how people get shot. I was like, what? The second I saw your lights, sir, I pulled over. Yes, sir, no, sir. All this, trying to mind my P's and Q's. And just was berating me, about not pulling over. And I eventually told him, I was like, sir, I work with police officers in my job. I tried to pull strings. Because I was, I told him, I was a news reporter and, that I wasn't looking for any trouble. I don't know why I said I was a news reporter and worked with police. Maybe I thought that he was going to care at some point, or maybe that his attitude, might get blasted out to the public if he continues to act the way that he did, because it was completely out of line. But ultimately, he asked me to search the car, was just a complete ass about everything. I told him, look, he asked me at one point, why I was so nervous. I was like, because you're yelling at me. And because I've never been spoken to by an officer like this, which I had before, and I was honestly nervous that maybe I could get in trouble for the cannabis. But he asked me if I could search the car. If he could search the car, I said no. You can't search the car, and I knew that there wasn't necessarily a dog anywhere around. I knew that this town didn't have necessarily a dog on duty at the time, and it would have taken more time for a dog or somebody else to get there than was allowed by constitutional law. I think it's something like 20 minutes or so that the Supreme Court has ruled that the cops are allowed to keep you there and get somebody else there, a dog, for instance, and they can call in a dog, but they cannot hold you there for an extraordinarily long period of time. So I said no. He went back. I think he was surprised that I said no, and I don't know whether he didn't, want to deal with if I was going to, do something stupid or whatnot. He's an older gentleman. He came back to my car, and he had changed his tone quite a bit. He wasn't so forward with me. He, gave me a warning. There's another clue that he didn't see me do anything wrong at the beginning. Anyway, it was frustrating. That was one of the times that you could have easily been pressured into having that officer search your vehicle. I probably would have gotten in trouble. I had greens on me. I had cash on me. I think I had just gotten paid. That's another thing. I mean, I've seen so many situations to where people have gotten pulled over in their car, drugs have been found, and then they just take all the money on you. Mm-hmm. Even it's not like $10,000 or $2,000, you know, $500, $200. You know, they're gonna take that money from you, put it in their pocket. By their pocket, I mean the drug agency's pockets. Yeah. Anyway, let's finish up this story we were on with Chester, and then we'll wrap the show up. The loss of the bed dropping out means that we're over time. Chester said, he was questioning letting the trooper search his car in Tennessee. I said, it's not my car, so I can't make that decision. And he said, you're the driver, you can. Or the trooper said, you're the driver, you can. Then he pulled my friend out of the... Okay, which one was driving? Was it Chester or the other one? I don't know. He pulled a friend out of the car, asked him the same question to see if the stories matched up. They did, and threatened to call the canine unit. He said, if you just go ahead and admit you got marijuana in your car, we'll write you up a ticket and you can be on your way. Doubtful, Chester thought. I figured they'd give me 5 to 10 if I said that, so finally I said, go ahead and search. The trooper did so in a big way. The aforementioned canine unit arrived, and the dog allegedly indicated the presence of drugs inside the truck. Although Chester has his doubts, I saw the canine guy tap the back of the truck, and that's when he jumped up, he says. And we talked with Barry Cooper before. Barry Cooper is a former drug agent and trained drug dogs for use all over. He lives in Texas. Barry Cooper, when he came out against this situation, when he changed parties, I guess you could say, changed affiliation from the drug agents to now working on our side, he did a few stings on the police, you know. Basically, police weren't allowed to come inside this house using FLIR and you know, the heat cameras.
Sure.
They weren't allowed to use that. The Supreme Court's ruled as your sole reason for coming into a spot, and he basically outed them that they were using that. And when this house was raided, and the only thing in the house was just a few grow lights and then a fake Christmas tree. Anyway, he ended up getting in trouble himself. The police went after him a couple times. Even took away his kids at one point. For I don't even think it was even for marijuana. Maybe a small amount of marijuana. But he's fought it, and he's got back into the mix with things. And you know, you can buy a camera that you can mount on your rearview mirror and in your car. He's got a lot of other Don't Get Busted DVDs and other things like that. Anyway, Barry Cooper, and his suggestion was that a lot of the time these officers are triggering the dogs to jump up on the car. That the dogs aren't necessarily finding anything. That it's just like, you know, like, get it. Find something, boy. Find something. I mean, you're getting the dog excited, tapping on something.
That's all they need.
They're responding to the ball that you have. They want the ball. Period. End of story. That's all the dog wants. They want the ball. That is their end game. So, I don't know about you guys, but I've told my dog no before, and she's climbed up and got in the trash and knocked the trash can over multiple times. So, I mean, I've told my dog no, that's bad. And you shouldn't do that, but I don't think my dog has any morals. He just keeps doing it.
Acts like a dog.
Just acts like a dog. So who's to say that the dog is not just trying to get the ball in any way possible, which is the fact of the matter. At any rate, officers went through all of Chester's belongings, most of them packed in luggage and stored in the truck's covered bed. It took about an hour and 15 minutes, he says. And that's another thing. I mean, you can wait for the cop to get there to search your stuff, but then once you're in their grasp and they're already searching you, you're kind of SOL. Another thing, too, if a cop says that you're free to go, if it gives you a warning or you sign your ticket, you're free to go. So once the cop says, you know, I'm letting you off with a warning or whatever, am I free to go, officer? Don't answer any other questions. A lot of the times they'll use that as, you know,
to relax you.
To relax you. I'm going to let you off with a warning. But, you know, still I kind of wanted to know. They can't do that. You're free to go. Well, not that they can't do that. You're just free to go. They pulled out all my clothes, even my tax forms and files that I had in a safe box that wasn't locked at the time. They went through all of it and really didn't do anything in regard to packing it back up. They just stuffed it back inside. So it took another 15, 20 minutes to repack everything. The officers did find a few other items that struck them as suspicious, including a friend's torch and several doob tubes, plastic joint holders created by and marketed by Westward's medical marijuana critic, William Breeze. I think doob tubes have been around for a while. Have they? Can William claim that?
I don't know.
I don't know if William can claim
I have
that.
a William Breeze doob tube.
There are, I think they...
There's a lot of different versions of it.
I think there's different versions. I think
There's an
William-
actual doob tube. Maybe he had his printed on there.
and it's got the William Breeze logo, the WB logo on it. At first, the trooper tried to argue that the latter constituted paraphernalia, the doob tubes. But since Chester points out that they're just plastic tubes with some writing printed on them, he soon gave up the ghost. There was no citation given, Chester says, but no apology either. Fortunately, Chester and his friend made it the rest of the way to North Carolina without further incident. What advice would he give to other young, long-haired, bearded drivers of Colorado? That's a lot of people. Traveling outside the state, don't go 1 mile per hour over the speed limit, he said, and don't give them any reason whatsoever to pull you over. And if you do get pulled over, don't give them any lip and get educated on what your rights as a driver are. These are important things to keep in mind, Chester believes, because if you've got plates that say Colorado, you're just targeted. I believe it. All right, we're like 10 minutes over here, so we might want to end the show here. Tomorrow on JDR, we'll probably have Danny Danko on with us, talking about growing and what Danny's been up to over the year. Talk to him about his little one, see how the little sprout's doing. Danny Danko had a kid. He's got a kid.
Nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's another thing that's been fun to see over the years is friends, form relationships, get married, then have their own families, and prosper with those families, man, and also be in our community. It's proud, good, upstanding adults with families that toke. Oh my God, it's not possible. So yeah, we'll probably have Danny on tomorrow. Danny Danko, cultivation editor from High Times. I haven't talked with him in like a year, so I don't know if his what's it called? His title's changed.
We'll find out. I've
Yeah, we'll
never
find
talked
out.
to him. It'll be interesting.
All right. Y'all have yourselves a great day. Big thanks to our sponsors, Evo Lab and Element 420, 82 South Federal Boulevard in Denver, 303-945-4774. Visit them at element420.com, elementfour20.com. Also, big thanks to Warren Edson Maintenance and Mats, 2130 South Bel Air Street in Denver, 303-831-8188. Criminal defense and medical marijuana business consultation, Edson Maintenance and Mats, 2130 South Bel Air, 303-831-8188. That is also the home of iCannabis Radio and the John Doe Radio Show. Have yourselves a fantastic day. If you missed anything, make sure you head to johndoeradio.com. You can catch us live on iCannabis Radio Monday through Friday, 11 to 1.
See you tomorrow.
Peace.
I'm John Doe. Push play. See ya.
The John Doe Radio Show is produced by Charlie Stash Entertainment. The John Doe Radio Show programming is not limited by some information on agriculture subjects and is informational and entertainment purposes only. We specifically include responsible marijuana reform. Rights. Listening to anyone but your mother is just like stupid. We accept no responsibility for your actions or misrepresentations, and we do not fully endorse the use of illegal drugs. You are ultimately responsible for yourself.
Live.